Welcome to Moss Marketing Mondays, a.k.a. the M3 Podcast. Brought to you by Moss Marketing Group, bringing you everything marketing every Monday. Stay tuned for marketing tips and tricks you can use today. The M3 Podcast, marketing knowledge to help you succeed. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the M3 Podcast. This week we have a special guest with us.
Really special.
Really special. Michelle, she owns 3 of the Kansas City Pure Barre locations, Liberty, Zona, and City Center.
Yes.
And we also have Lauren and Dre joining us from the MMG side. So thank you for being here today.
My pleasure.
And have you ever podcasted before?
I had a brief encounter with the podcast a few years ago. I can't say that it was a pleasurable experience, but it has been like on my bucket list to do like a full, like this kind of situation where we're all sitting here around the microphones. And
maybe this one will be a little bit more pleasurable.
I think it will. So far, so good.
So far, so good. We're knocking the right doors.
Yes.
All right, so we have met, and when we first met, it was at City Center.
Yep.
And I feel like we had a really long conversation, a great conversation there. And I think at that point I knew I wanted you to come on the podcast. And
Thanks.
Let's deep dive into your story of starting with Pure Barre, because I know it didn't start here.
It did not start here. No. It's a story for the ages. No. So I actually started Pure Barre as a client down in Naples, Florida. I lived in Naples. I was also a Bearcat. After my Bearcat days, Northwest Missouri State days, my then husband and I decided to just move to Naples, Florida, and see what happens for a few years. Have some, fun on the beach. That turned into 15 years and 3 kids and a divorce. So anyway, 2014, I started Pure Barre as a client. I had never enjoyed working out. I was a dancer throughout my childhood. I played some high school sports, but like going on a jog, lifting weights, that was not in my wheelhouse. So working out was not a pleasurable experience for me.
So she pointed at me going on a jog.
Yeah.
I was like, he's a runner.
He's a runner now. He ran 5 miles this morning.
Yep.
In 50 minutes.
That's hit me with the time. Not very fast, but he did it.
No, that's probably my pace at this point too. But anyway, I didn't, working out was not something fun for me. So, Pure Barre was just opening up in Naples, and a friend of mine said, let's go try it. It was like, a month commitment or whatever, $99. So we went, every morning at 6 a.m., and it was, to great music that they played really loud. You could kind of just be in your own space. You didn't have to talk to people while you're working out. I don't know, I just kind of fell in love with it. I'm like, I could do this every day. Like, I was excited to wake up at 5:45 and go work out, which was not something that I was used to doing. So, I get about a month into it, and they start looking for teachers. And I'm like, well, I can teach. I can count music. Like, how hard can this be? Well, it was really hard, actually. It was really hard. So I started teaching. They had to pull me in a few times and say, are you sure you want to teach? And I'm like, no, I promise. I can be better. I can do better. And so I figured out how to teach, and it became a very quick passion for me. I was used to teaching kids how to dance, and I had taught like high school girls how to cheer. I'd never taught adults, and I thought I would hate teaching adults, but turns out it was pretty empowering. You see women's from all walks of life, women.
She's making up new words now. She's going to come after me for running. I'm going to come after her for word creation.
Okay, that's fair. Women from all walks of life and come together as a community in these classes. You're sweating together and you're shaking together. And they became really great friends with each other. And that was cool because, if someone wouldn't show up for 6 a.m. one day, then the next time they did show up, they're like, hey, where were you yesterday? Mm-hmm. And that, for adult women, that we don't have communities like that typically. Like, it's hard to make women friends. I don't know if you feel that same way, but so that was pretty cool. And you see, a gal that couldn't do a 90-second plank when she first started, and then a month or 2 in, all of a sudden she's like, did you see I held my plank the whole time? And so that was cool to watch. You saw their confidence grow. you saw them, lose pant sizes and have to buy new clothes, and they were so excited about that. And then, we have date nights. So sometimes we have date night, and you bring your significant other.
Why'd you point at me?
Because I'm sure it's coming. Madison's going to get you into a class and it kills us. And the husband pulls you aside, and he's like, hey, this has been great. My wife loves these classes. I don't know if I should say this on a podcast, but, like, the sex is better.
Makes it happen.
No, for sure. To hear it from a husband could be awkward for some people, but I'm like, cool, that's great. The tucking works.
I'm here to help
that's
anyone
gonna be
I can, man.
That's going to be a reel. Then all of a sudden next week there's going to be guys that are like, yeah, I'm tying my wife up. She's like,
I
have
run
this,
that as an ad.
yeah,
Right.
I have this weird influx of people here now. I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened, where these people came from. But no, so it was cool to watch. I don't condone getting divorced or quitting your job, but I saw a lot of women who were in shitty relationships or in toxic jobs, and they're like, the confidence that I gained here allowed me to see that I'm worth it outside of here, and I made some big life changes, and that's pretty powerful for a lot of people. So anyway, long story short, I knew that I wanted to do more than just teach. I knew that, we needed Pure Barres in every community, and let's reach more women and give more women the confidence and the empowerment they need to go out and, do all that they've ever wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So at this point in my life, I'm going through a divorce and had no clue, how that would look to open a Pure Barre studio. And really, Florida was pretty saturated already, especially Naples. There was a few in our surrounding areas already. And I was reconnecting with a boy I went to junior high and high school with, and he lived in Kansas City. And he's like, well, what does this look like? Like, what all goes into opening a Pure Barre? So I start digging into it, and I'm like, well, there's actually only one in Kansas City. And he's like, let's do it. I'm like, well, but I have 3 kids and an ex-husband in Florida. I can't just get up and open a studio in Kansas City. And he's like, well, ask him if he'll come. Ask him if he'll move back. He also went to Northwest. He grew up in Iowa. We all grew up in Iowa. But so I approached him, and he, said, sure, I'll move back. So we sign a franchise agreement, and we sign a lease. And then he says, never mind, I don't want to move back.
Oh, God.
Surprise.
And so now I'm stuck, right? Like, there's money on the line, there's, personal guarantees, and you guys know, you start a business and you signed your life away, It takes some guts, and I have no idea what I was actually thinking, because I had 3 little kids, 0 energy, 0 time. Anyway, it was all a pipe dream, and you just kind of like, it's like cliff jumping, right? Like, you just have to step off the cliff and
just go for it.
Yeah, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. My boyfriend at the time, Brad, he literally like put his house up to get our business loan. Like, we were like literally stepping off the cliff. So anyway, we opened the studio, and I was on an airplane every Monday. So I had my kids every other week. So the weeks that I had kids, I was in Florida. The weeks I didn't have kids, I was in Kansas City. I relied heavily on my team. Like, it wasn't a 3 strikes, you're out. It's no, you don't even get a strike, because if you don't show up to work, nobody's at the studio, so the weeks that I wasn't here in Kansas City, I was, working from Florida, but I just wasn't physically in the studio. And I think that no business school or business course or class will ever teach you what just opening a business will teach you. Mm-hmm. I literally, Naples, the studio there is one of the top performing Pure Barres in the nation, okay? So I'm like, this is cake. Like, all you have to do is put retail on the wall, and people will come in and buy it, and you just have to give them a class, and they'll, sign their life to you. Naples and Kansas City have a little bit different demographic.
Just
Not a lot, but just a little bit. And so those first 3 months, we made like $0. Pretty sure we probably bled some money in the first 3 months. And Brad was like, this isn't going to work. And I'm like, no, just hold the faith, keep the faith. So, we do some big sales meetings with our team, and how can we turn this around? Because when we opened, we probably had almost 200 people that signed up for that first month that we opened. And then they all just disappeared because we didn't do any sort of sales process after that. We were like, cool, you did a month, now what? And then they were all gone in the wind. And so month 3 and 4,
the first month you're like, oh, I got this.
Totally.
Oh, this cake. Open
I'm
the
like,
door.
I literally just had to open the doors, and people were like flooding it because the Northland had nothing. Our first location was Zona. This is 2016 in January. Nobody knew what bar was, so that was intriguing to people to come try something new. And the Northland literally had nothing. They had like Anytime Fitness.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably just about it.
Yeah.
So month 4 and 5, we did a lot of like educating the community. What is bar? You know, how can group fitness change your life? How are we different from your normal gym? And by month 6, I think we made $20 or something that month. Like, but at least we were in the black and there was hope. So I traveled back and forth for probably the first year and a half. At that point, my ex-husband finally decided if he could find a teaching job here as a school teacher, that he would move back. We had always agreed that the kids growing up in Naples, Florida, probably wasn't the best situation. It's a beautiful place, don't get me wrong. Vacation there, every day of the year if you want to, but to raise kids there with that much money, and they went to the private school there because that's where their dad taught. So they were the scholarship kids. I didn't want that stigma for them forever and ever because their friends were living in mansions literally on the water,
I don't think people realize how much money is in Naples.
It's a lot.
Like, I've went down there. And
you visited.
It's Ferraris everywhere. Like, the most high-end cars that people think about, like, when they see stuff on social media, that's just everywhere.
It's like custom cars that there's only like 10 of in the world are there.
It's a level of something you've never seen. And I felt even just eating and things down there, just the cost of living is astronomical.
It's crazy. The student parking lots at the high schools were nicer than anything we had ever seen growing up in Iowa. Like, they were getting brand new, like, Range Rovers and high-end BMWs and Mercedes. Yeah.
We were rocking F-150s and Silverados at school.
I literally had like a 1988 Honda Civic.
I had a Pontiac Sunfire.
Exactly. So anyway, so he decides to move back. We get the kids here, and then I was here full-time. At that point, the business was doing okay. It was definitely paying the bills. I was taking home a salary. It was everything to me. Like, it's my heart and soul. Like, once I opened the studio, I knew that there was like nothing else on this planet that I was meant to do. Like, it fit for me. It never felt like work. I could work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and I would still be like, this is awesome. Yeah. I love this so much. But my husband is he's now my husband. It all worked out.
Full circle, the story works.
Take the leap. He's like, we either need to sell the studio because it's not gangbusters. I think he thought from the beginning, seeing Naples Studios numbers, that this was going to be a retirement plan for him, an early
He's like,
retirement
we have
plan.
a money print machine.
Right.
Why is it printing a single 20 each month?
Yeah, buy some coffee. So he kind of like broached the topic, like, maybe we should sell it. Maybe we should go do something else, and that just like tore my heart out. I was like, you're literally breaking my heart right now. Like, I can't. He even took me, we tell this story all the time. He actually just asked me the other day if I'll ever forgive him, but he took me to a business broker one day and talked to him about putting it up for sale.
Oh my God.
And I cried the whole time. Tears just running.
Did you know you were having this meeting?
I had very short notice. And so I kind of showed up, and the guy starts talking about, the process. And literally tears are just running down my face. And he's like, are you sure you want to sell?
Can't you see the answer's no?
I didn't know about the meeting.
Right? He drug me here. But full, coin flip, I said, conferences in Miami this year in like a month. Why don't you just come with me and just see what like all the hype's about? Like maybe just come. It'll be a good vacation. If nothing else, we'll talk about something when we get back. Yeah. So we get down to Miami, and he starts drinking the Kool-Aid. It's convention. Every studio owner from the nation is there. Yeah. He's talking to some older men that have like opened like 10 studios as investments, and they just get, managers to run each studio or whatever. And I mean, he's all in. He's like, we need more studios. And so that's when the idea of City Center started. It actually he was also thinking about branching out. So the people that own Pure Barre own lots of different other fitness brands.
Gotcha.
So they own Club Pilates, they own Row House, Stretch Lab. There's Stride. It's like a running workout. They've got AKT, Anna Kaiser, which is like a dance workout. So they kind of have set their sights on owning a boutique fitness studio of every genre.
Right.
And the idea would be is one day have a class pass. They call it X Pass, and you can go to any studio you want, assuming that all the brands are in your area and whatever. So he's like, I really like the idea of this row house. Excuse me. I enjoy rowing. It's more cardio. There's some strength training in there. He's like, what if we, maybe do a couple row houses and a couple Pure Barres, like that would be the idea. So we actually purchased a row house right after convention. And so he would kind of have something that he loved, and I had something I loved, and, we could grow from there. But we had a really hard time finding a spot. We had bought it for the Liberty territory, and there was just no retail space available. Mm-hmm. This was like late 2019, probably early 2020. It was definitely prior to COVID. So it was probably late 2019. And we looked for, I don't know, probably 6 months for a spot. And he's like, forget it.
Yeah.
It was not meant to be. This is not meant to be. So we went back to Exponential, our parent company, and said, can we trade the row house in for another Pure Barre? And we'll just go down by Lenexa because we lived down there at the time. They said, sure, whatever. So that's how City Center came to be. Now, we had signed the lease February of 2020. March, we all know what happened in March of 2020. And we continued with the build-out anyway because for us, it was never an option. We're not backing out now. Zona was still functioning really well, even with COVID. Our community is second to none. And they were like, we're not going anywhere. Like, we had live stream classes. We gave all of our equipment out to our clients, and they could work out at home. And so Zona was holding steady, and we were confident that COVID wouldn't last forever. And
2-week curve.
2 weeks. 2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Yeah.
So we went forward with the build-out. We started marketing. We did a ton of outdoor classes down in the Lenexa area. And we opened the doors because you're paying rent either way. So let's just get the doors open. And those that are comfortable coming in for classes came in for classes. And those that weren't stayed home. And we continued to live stream and tried to build a community that way. I would not recommend opening a business during a pandemic. Fingers crossed we never have another pandemic that we have to worry about. But it's not for the faint of heart. Every day you're wondering.
We were right there with you.
Yeah, I'm sure. Sure. Every time the phone rings, you're like, I'm going to lose another client.
Yeah.
Every email that comes through, I'm going to lose another client.
My deal was I left a job that I had that was steady.
That's right.
And then I was like, I'm going to open a marketing company.
Yes.
And then like 2 days later, they're like, hey, all of the United States is closing down.
Actually, you have to just stay home.
I'm like, now I'm just unemployed. I was like, not the ideal time to open something.
Yeah.
And it was, I waited 60 days until I even put out that I left.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I had 2 months where I pretty much sat at home and actually I went and worked out every morning. I had a buddy that ran a gym that I'm like, we'll go train every morning. And then we just sat around the house, and Madison was still selling real estate.
You were probably half marathon ready at that point.
Definitely not. I don't think I've ever been half marathon ready. So
well, you have a month to get ready.
Yeah, that's all in the head. I'm telling you.
Mind over matter.
It is.
Mind over matter.
On building business, coming through a pandemic, things like that, what advice would you have for other entrepreneurs that are just starting out, and what mistakes do you see most often from business owners when they start?
If the dream is something that you think about every single day, and you say to your significant other or your friends every single day, God, I don't want to go to work. I wish I just had my own business, or I wish I could just do that, whatever it is. And, that goes on for a year. Chances are you were really meant to do that something. And, like I said, take the leap and just trust that it'll all work out. Because there's never going to be a right time, right? It's kind of like you hear people say, oh, we're waiting for the right time to have a baby, or we're waiting for the right time to have a puppy, or we're waiting for the right time to build the house. When is that right time? Like, honest to God, you're never going to have enough money You're never going to have enough time and energy, you know. So what are you waiting for? There's no magic number. There's never going to be a magic number. So just take the leap. If that means that you have to work 2 jobs while you're doing it, just do it. You know, like figure out a way to make it happen. But it's not going to happen if you don't just take the leap. From there, I see this over and over and over again with other Pure Barre studios. Don't take the money out of the business.
That is something that I see a fault in a crazy amount of business owners all the time.
Yeah, because, and I will give all this credit, if Brad ever watches this podcast or listens to this, he'll smile here. But he is the one that was from the beginning. Like, you're going to take only what you need to pay bills, and then everything else is going to sit in that checking account for the company. And thank God, because pandemics happen. Whether it's a pandemic or not a pandemic, whatever it is, your roof caves in or there's a flood. You know, something's going to happen, and you're going to need that money. I see these girls open these studios and get this fast cash coming in, and they're seeing it come in, and they're like, I'm going to go buy
Brand new vehicle.
Totally, that $100,000 car that I've been eyeballing.
Yeah.
But
Priorities are not straight.
Totally.
That goes across everything.
Yeah.
And when I opened this, like, I've always drove nice cars. Like, people know me. I've always drove something
But
nice.
you came from the car dealership.
Yeah. But, like, when I started this, I was driving a Ford Fusion.
That's what I was driving.
And I was like, I bought a car, so I had a $200 payment. I'm like, I can make a $200 payment in my sleep. I will never lose.
We will
my
never
car.
be that. Yes.
So it was like, and did Madison hurt at all from me starting this? No. But it was like, I made those steps. And I still have a piece of paper in a drawer up there that had taken a picture of a truck, and it was taped up right next to my computer. I go, and I wrote a number under it, and I go, when I hit this number revenue monthly, I'm going to pick up a new truck.
Totally.
And it was like 3 months later. I was like, okay, that was kind of fast. I thought that would take longer. But it was just like,
that was kind of fast. Maybe I should set my sights a little higher.
But it was like one of those things after I started doing that. But it was, I left all the money in the company that I didn't have, like, I don't have boats. I don't have all this other stuff.
No, it's so important. I mean, and we were paying off a business loan for Zona, you know, and it took a few years for sure. But the beautiful thing is all that money that we had sitting in the account, then it built City Center. And then City Center's business loan was half what Zona had to be.
Yeah.
And then within a year of opening City Center, we were opening Liberty. And we paid off Liberty in 2 months because now we had 3 businesses paying one business loan. So, you know, from day one, we're you know, on year 8 for Zona, and we have 0 debt. And that feels so great. And I never have to worry about that. And you know, we can go to sleep a little bit easier at night. Well, Brad, I sleep really well. He does not sleep so well. But he's the money guy, right? Like, I smile and sell memberships, and he tells me how much we have in the bank account. I'm kidding. I do know what's in my bank account. But my point to other people opening businesses, they fail in the first year because people drain all the cash out of them. Mm-hmm. They leave no reserve. And, you know, fortunately for us, we have a franchisor that's pretty vocal about you should have X amount of dollars in your bank account at all times, just in case. But I know studios that, you know, don't have $2,000 to buy the new weights that we need. You know, like.
And I think that's so crazy because
Bananas.
I run business very similar to the way I run my personal life. And you don't need to have an over excess of cash sitting there because I think that is bad.
Sure.
But it's also like, it makes it where you can play aggressively.
Sure, absolutely.
And it makes it where you can be very aggressive in any space that you're in.
Right.
And if they come out with all new weights or something like that, it's no question asked. Like, we're going to have all the nicest, newest stuff 100% of the time. You don't think about it.
Right.
And I don't see how business owners run and operate with next to no cash.
Right. Because, I mean, you got to be pumping money in all the time, whether it's just to keep, for us, you know, our studio up to date, keep it clean, keep it fresh looking.
Yeah.
But also, you know, you need money to advertise, and you want to pay your employees well. You know, like, that's important to me too, is that all of my girls, except for 2, between all my studios, you know, Pure Barre is a part-time gig for them, but I want to make it worth their while. Like, I don't want them ever to feel like I'm taking advantage or they're coming to work and not getting anything out of it. I mean, I think we all in the fitness business know that money is not the big driver there.
Right. Right.
But no, I want to be able to take them out to dinner, and I want to be able to, you know, for Christmas, do fun stuff, like just stuff like that. And if you are spending all the money just personally, then none of that happens. And then guess what? Your team starts to leave or your clients start to leave because the studio is falling apart and you don't have money to fix it. But good thing you're driving the car that you're driving,
And that's, I think sometimes people worry about that more.
Totally. Like, what do they think?
And then also a lot of people assume that they know just because a car has a retail value on it, that's what you pay on it.
There you go.
Because that's how they run their life.
That's right.
And it's like, I have this conversation a lot of times with a lot of people. They think because I drive an expensive truck that I owe that much on that truck.
Right.
I'm like, and Madison was very much the same. When I met her, she is like the debt-free human being that never wants to owe on anything. I'm like, I really don't. It doesn't bother me at all.
Right.
I just like to own things correctly.
Sure.
And it's when I'm buying these trucks, I have over 50% positive equity in them, which it makes it really easy to buy another one.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And that equity goes to that next one to where it's like, my payments are cheaper than most people's car payments, even though my vehicle's price tag may be 4 times higher.
Totally.
But it's like once again, it's a priority thing that one payment's not going to make or break anything.
Right.
And I think when you start playing with bigger puzzle pieces, people think that they look at a very small portion of it.
Right.
But it's, as a business scales, I've always looked at it as I clear thresholds. To date, I still don't take checks from here. I've been fortunate enough. Madison does well.
She does really well.
She kills it. And we've always worked kind of...
Sugar mama.
I know. We've always kind of like worked back and forth. And it's like, if we needed the money, it's here.
Right.
I'd rather leave it in the business.
Right.
And she has money in her business, but our personal life doesn't cost a whole lot.
Right.
And we've kept it where it's low. And because of that, every time I hit a threshold, she's like, are you going on payroll? I'm like, no, I think I'm going to hire a couple more people. Like, and she's like, when does that stop? I was like, I don't know. I was like, we have more work. Like it keeps coming. So I'm like, it's like, it's almost this like monster that you build that you have to keep fueling, that it needs more and more food as it gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a lot different as things shift and change.
Yeah.
What would you say your biggest objective you have had since you have started Pure Barre has been?
My biggest objective is to, this sounds so corny, change as many lives as possible. And not just me, but my team, the workout, the community. I say women because that's the majority. We literally have 2 male clients. Guys, where you at? Pure Barre is for everybody.
Yeah, there's like a bar in there. I put my foot up on it, and then I was famous for like 24 hours.
He was famous. He did go through that news cycle, which, by the way, we don't even put our foot up on the bar. So
I was just showing off how flexible I was.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I think that's
because
a big...
he's a marathon runner.
He is a marathon runner now, so he needs that flexibility in his life.
Yeah.
Don't need to pull any hammies or groins.
That's what everyone has been on my case about being safe. I'm like, if I hurt myself running, guys, we got a big problem. I'm like, I think I'll be okay. It's flat ground.
But yes, my objective is to, change lives. I mean, really, it sounds so corny, but Pure Barre literally changed like the trajectory of my life.
And I think something that you have that's very unique about your business model, and you can see it when you come in there. And I hadn't been in a Pure Barre studio.
I mean, valid.
But when we came in, you have a different culture from your team to the people that come in there. It is a community that feels completely different. And what have you done to acquire those team members? Has pretty much everyone been just a client that you've...
Literally, there's 2 teachers that did not start as clients on my teams. And I think that's huge. I think that's so important. Like, how cool is it that they came in as clients and they were so inspired or empowered or, whatever adjective you want to choose by what we do. They said, hey, I want to work here. That's pretty powerful. I think, they're already drinking the Kool-Aid. They love the workout. So it's just a natural fit for them to turn into a teacher and be on the team. I think it's really important as a business owner. I think people forget, I'm going to go off on a tangent here. I think people think that franchises are like corporate run stores.
Yeah.
I think there's like some disconnect there. We're still a small business. Yes, we have a franchisor that, we pay royalties to every month. And our Pure Barre corporate team is great. I have no objections about them. But at the end of the day, they're not going to come save me if things go bad. Literally, they're like,
See you later.
yeah, actually you owe us this because you didn't fulfill your agreement.
Right.
We sign 10-year agreements and 10-year leases. Like, this is like a big deal. It's not like something that we can just close down in a few months. So it's really important that my team has the same beliefs that I do. So my team, yes, they teach classes, but they also take classes every week. And they want to take classes. It's not like a forced, like, you have to take 3 classes a week. They want to take classes. They're actually upset when we have wait lists because then they can't get in to take classes. And they're like, can I please sneak in the back to take class? I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
I want that text message every day. So they teach, they take class, and they actually care about the people that come into our studios. I would put money down that our teachers know 95% of the people that come into our studios. Like, they know their face, they know their name, they're probably Facebook friends. Mm-hmm. They know they have kids, or they don't have kids, or they're trying to have kids, or, it's just an all-encompassing community. Like, we know everything about everybody. And, I mean, there's good and bad to that, don't get me wrong. But a client knows that she can come in and it's a safe space, and she might break down in tears just by walking in our door. Like, she's had a crappy day, or her kids are being a-holes, because kids do that sometimes. Mm-hmm. Get ready. All y'all. Just get ready.
What to look
For
forward to.
a-holes.
Yeah. I
She's
love my
really
kids
selling us
dearly.
pretty heavy on this.
I do love my kids. I have great kids. But, so they feel like it's a safe space. We sometimes joke as teachers that we're like therapists.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they just feel like comfortable to come in and just lay it out all out there. Or they come in and they're so excited because they got a promotion at work, or they got engaged, or they're having a baby. We're like the first to know that people get pregnant all the time. Like, sometimes we know before the husbands know, because they just want to make sure that they're safe, which Pure Barre is, as far as pregnancy workout goes, like, we're pretty safe. Of course, you want to go to a doctor and make sure that you should be working out, but
Disclaimer.
But so I think the question is something about how to successfully run your business. But I still teach, 8 years in, I still teach 10 classes a week. And I think that's important. I think a lot of people open studios and think that it can just be like a side hustle or a cool investment, something they can check on once in a while.
But you said something there that is became one of my biggest pet peeves, is everyone calling something a side hustle.
Totally.
And it's like, people don't take you seriously. Uh-huh. And it's funny how many times we've been places, Madison and I have been somewhere, and of course they always think just because I have a location and there's all these people that work here.
That you have the real job and she has the side hustle?
So they always think, they're like, we're like, yeah, she sells real estate. They're like, well, what else? What do you do full time? Uh-huh. And I know I've talked to multiple people that are like, well, I'm going to start selling real estate as a side hustle.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I go, do you know how unfair that is to the people that you are working with?
Yeah.
Those people are the problem. And it's like, if you're like, yeah, I'm going to open up this Pure Barre studio, it's just a side hustle.
Totally.
You don't take care of it, it's grimy in there, then it's a bad rap on the brand.
Absolutely.
And
nothing chaps my hide more than that, is that someone went and had a crappy experience at another Pure Barre.
Yeah.
And then they moved by one of our studios and they're like, oh, no, thanks. I had, that Pure Barre I tried was crappy. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not our Pure Barre.
Yeah.
Come try something.
Once your Pure Barre started, like you said, making the money, you could have easily just been like, all right, peace out. I'm out. But no, you're there every single day. You're a face of the studios.
Right.
Like, people know who you are.
Right.
When you could,
and they know they can come to me personally if there's an issue.
Yeah.
And very rarely do we have issues, but they know, most of them have my cell phone number, good or bad. It just is what it is,
Yeah.
Or they'll, instant message me on Instagram, or what do they call it? What do the kids? DM? They'll slide into my DMs.
She has all kinds of people sliding into her DMs.
Yep. Because I'm 28.
Yeah.
And I only drink one energy drink a day.
Yep.
I just think it's so important. I don't think I could ever really truly step away from it.
Right.
And there's so many owners that don't teach classes, and that bothers me too, because how are you selling something that you don't even know what you're selling?
Yeah.
You know, like I could go on and
Like,
on.
are you really passionate about it, or are you money chasing
Totally.
whatever the new fad thing is that's
Totally.
doing very well? So
Totally.
And that's just as a great leader. I see that once again.
Thanks.
The leaders that are right there in the trenches with everyone they work with, those are leaders that people want to follow.
yeah.
And there's a lot of leaders out there that, like you said, start something and then they're like, well, our turnover rate's crazy.
Right.
I don't know what our issue is. It's like,
Maybe it's
probably
you.
because, it's probably because they don't believe in this and you're trying to
Right.
find the cheapest work out there,
Right.
so on and so forth. Like,
Right.
if somebody doesn't believe in something, it's really hard for them to go follow it.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I'll look at Supplement Superstore, for instance. They have created a monster following,
Monster, yes.
and they get people coming in at the lowest to low pay.
Yeah, I'm sure they're
off.
just like salespeople, right?
Which
like,
they start off, base pay, but they are there for a grander
Yeah, the bigger
movement.
picture. Yeah.
And it's like they want people that are going to hold out for the grander picture.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So you have to put your time in to get there.
Right.
But it's like they've drank the Kool-Aid, that they believe in it.
Yeah.
They're pushing up that ladder.
Yeah.
But it's also they see the people that run it aren't just gone.
Right.
They're there all the time. They're at events. They're
But what does that tell your team too? If you're not there, like willing to do the work, you know, like I teach 5:30 in the morning. I teach some evenings. I teach some weekends. You know, like if you're not willing to do it,
right.
and you know, I clean the toilets too. By the way,
I've been in that position.
I mean, someone's got to do it. But my point is
we round robin the office.
As the owner of a business, if you won't do it, what's going to make your staff
Totally.
and employees want to do
Totally.
it? No, I've seen that from when Ricky and I were in the gym space. Like something from the outside looking into your position, that's something I saw right away from the first time we stepped into Pure Barre. I was like, this culture and this community is insane. Like I loved the energy because like you said, women, they need a place to escape reality. They need a place to be held accountable. Like growing up, I played like every sport possible. And now that I'm not doing that anymore and I look back, I always tell Ricky, I'm like, I wish I had a coach that would like make me run suicides again.
Right.
Like
you can come join me for training for a half marathon.
I mean, 5 miles on the treadmill feels like some suicides.
But like I miss that. I never in a bajillion years would ever think that I miss running freaking suicides. But like when you said if someone misses a class, the next time they're there, they're like, hey, why weren't you here?
Right.
It's like, oh shit, like
I gotta
noticed.
show up,
I
yeah.
gotta show up for myself, and I gotta show up for the people around
Right.
me.
Right.
So like the community at Pure Barre it's amazing. The first time I did a class was actually with Madison.
I thought she was pointing at me. I'm like that.
No,
Or John
not
Wayne.
Dave.
Maybe John Wayne
he
was
did
there.
class, yeah.
no. Madison was like, Lauren, come do a Pure Barre class with me. I was like, what?
Yeah, no thanks.
And I was like, what is it? And I was like, is it dance? Is it Pilates? Like, what is it? And she was like, no, you just come. And I was like, okay. I have danced in my past. So I am not flexible though. Not flexible, but I do have like,
Are you talking like at bars?
Huh?
Dancing?
On the bar?
Yeah, with the bar. No, I can keep a beat. Like I know like the steps.
musicality, sure.
Yes, the steps of music and stuff, but I can count music. But I was like, I'm not flexible. Like if I have to do the splits, that's not happening. And so I did the class with her, and it was phenomenal. Like the community, like everyone's cheering each other on. Everyone is at different fitness levels. So
Totally.
it's like this person who you know has been a dancer can easily just go into the splits, whereas this person can't, but they are still getting just as much of a workout as that person is.
Totally. 1,000%.
Yeah.
That's like the beauty of bar is that literally anybody can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, we meet you where you're at. So, you know, you work to your own level and there's no keeping up with anybody. Like, you know, there's some workouts out there that if you're not going in the same direction as
Yeah.
everybody else, then you feel stupid and you're like, oh, I don't get it and I can't keep up. And then you're going to quit. Like you're never going to go back there. But bar, everybody's like so in the zone, like during class, like they're just so worried about just getting through whatever we're getting through
Yep.
that it truly is like a judgment-free zone.
Judgment-free zone. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another big stigma that I feel like you have to get past people is someone who is first coming into a gym setting, or like dance, like a dance class or a Pilates class or a Pure Barre class. They think that everyone's going to be looking at them,
Right.
and it's like you can swear up and down to someone and tell them everyone around you does not give a shit about what you're doing.
Like, literally, they do not care.
It's really hard to get people to believe that, but it's the truth.
You should let them know they're fighting their own demons. In their
Yeah,
own head.
yeah.
Right?
Like
Totally.
no one cares if you can touch your toes or not. They're just worried about themselves.
I'm going to show up
And-
to one. I'm like, Lauren, are you touching your toes over there?
Can you get down any lower?
Yeah.
And, we encourage, to silence your cell phone, or better yet, don't bring it in the room,
Yeah.
because how distracting is that? On the treadmill.
You want to know the coolest thing? You want to know the coolest thing about Pure Barre? I'm gonna say this is a very tippy top.
God.
Tippy top.
They have OG iPods. I was
We
in
do.
there, and I'm like looking, and they have like their music thing. I'm looking up on top. I'm like, is that an iPod Touch?
Yep. And you can't get them anymore. So if you find one, will you buy it? Just I need a backup.
I was looking on Marketplace trying to find myself one when I left. I'm like, I wonder if I can buy one of these somewhere.
Yeah.
Can't find them.
Nope.
Seriously?
Yeah.
So you're telling me that when mine die,
I'm finding like the OG like old gen with
Yep.
the circle.
No.
Is that not what you're talking about?
No, the iPod Touch. It looks like a phone. But
It's
remember
not
when
a
they were
phone.
like
It was
thin?
like a rounded back. It was like
Yeah.
thick and had like a rounded back at the home button.
Yeah, I saw it and I'm like,
he
what?
doesn't even remember that far
Oh,
back.
I
Were
remember
you
the
born
brick
then?
one. I'm like, I have the brick one.
Oh yeah, no.
But the screen doesn't really light up. It's just like
Yeah.
The shuffle, the circle thing.
Yeah, I
They
don't
were
want,
like white. The very first one, I had the very first one. It was like a white, and it had a giant circle, and then just like the
Small little
gray
screen.
screen. Yeah.
The Nano. Is that what it was?
No, it was
the Nano.
big
the
was
big
like-
one.
Yeah.
Then they had the Nano.
The
then
Nano
they
was
had the
little tiny one,
Touch.
Yeah.
The shuffle was the little square one. I had
Yeah.
the shuffle. I could like pin it, like clip it to my belt
yeah.
loop.
I was like, somebody came and text you in here. I was like, this is so cool.
No one.
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
he shut the door and shut it all out. So
Yeah.
So, what, as a entrepreneur, business owner, what would you say one of your biggest techniques or strategy to have that balance between work and your personal life and running it all together?
What's that?
I hate
No,
that. Like
I'm-
I hate
I'm-
that like work-life balance thing all the time.
No, I know.
But it's like, how do you? I know it's something I work on a lot because I'm really good at going 200% one way
Yep.
and then just like tunnel visioning
Yep.
work, and then everything else kind of gets
Yep.
caught around. So I've been working on
It is easy to do. For
taking
sure.
a step back a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, there's no magic recipe, right? Like, you just have to. I mean, I could work all the time. I could have my laptop out all the time. People are always texting us, always calling us, always emailing, even our current clients, like, hey, I can't make it to class, or hey, I can't do this. And I had to learn how to delegate. And that's really hard for me. That's probably my fault, is that no one's going to do it better than me. And that is no fault to my team, because I would put my team up against any team
I
in
feel
the
like
nation.
I'm kind of listening to Mass and talk right now. Just like,
It's just really hard for me to let go. I blame my mother, actually. She was very much that way. She would have us clean the house, and then she would come behind us and re-clean it because we didn't
Her
do
way.
it right.
You didn't do it her way.
We didn't do it right. So it's, Mom, it's your fault. And when we opened the third studio, I just had to come to the realization that I couldn't do it all. I do have 3 kids. I do have a husband. We are renovating a house. So I just, things were falling through the cracks, and I'm like, okay, they're not going to do it exactly how I would do it, but is it going to get done in a pretty good way? Yeah, probably. Okay, then I have to just let it go. So I would just really encourage, again, to find a really great team. Most of my team has been with me for 7 years, which I think is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
very,
They weren't my first team, but they were the next ones in. So, and they've stuck with me. So I know that they know how I like it done, and it's probably going to be fine. And so I just had to start letting go of things. And my clients will even joke, because they all know that I have some OCD tendencies. I like the weights to go back a certain way. The tubes need to hang just a certain way. But if they're not, it's probably
Yeah,
okay.
it's like the business going to crash and burn because the weights aren't put up right.
Exactly. So they make fun of me because, like, when we do challenge boards, I used to have one of my teachers has really amazing handwriting. And so I would make all the clients sign up on this, like, notepad first. And then I would give the names to Matea to write pretty on the challenge boards. Well, then there would be some rogue client that wants to sign up late, and she would willy-nilly just write her name on the board. And I would, like, lose my mind, you guys. It was so embarrassing, but also just, like, made me so mad.
Well, you don't want Dre coming in writing your names.
Heck no.
Please don't write on my boards. But so, like, I've given that up. But now they think it's funny, and they do funny things. Like, when they're checking off their classes, they all do funny things. And they're like, Michelle, is this driving you nuts yet? And I'm like, I don't even look anymore, you guys. I'm totally cool now. Chill.
She's over there just like,
Nail bursted. So anyway, find a team that you can trust. They don't have to do it exactly like you, but
Yeah.
they'll get it done.
I think in business, that is probably, I would say, the biggest step for an entrepreneur
Absolutely.
is
Letting go.
letting go. Then that is something that some entrepreneurs will never do.
Never do.
And
but then what happens to their personal life, right? Then they get
And
divorced and their kids hate them and they never show up to things and
Oh, she went full speed at all
yeah,
of it.
all of it.
So,
because
you
see it
hit
all
rock
the
bottom.
but it's
You have no one left.
Yeah. And it's one of those things when you start letting go that I was like, no one can do something as well as I can.
That's right.
And I start letting it go, and I'm like, oh my God, they do it way better than I do. I'm like, why didn't I do that before?
Well, wait.
And then I was like, people would come on. I'm like, you know what? Don't even ask him. He's way better than me. I was like, I'm not teaching you.
No, it's true.
And it's pretty cool, like when you start really building a team and you're building all that and you're figuring out people's talents and you're figuring out what people excel at. And I think that's probably the coolest thing
Yeah.
of getting to be in a position of doing something like this.
Agreed.
And I think you get very much the same thing in Pure Barre.
Yeah.
And I think we're on my last question, how it kind of actually, I'm going to have one more after this.
Okay.
But where do you envision Pure Barre, your 3 studios? Is there more to come? What does the next 5 years look like?
Is there more to come? That's always when are you open the next studio? I really think 3 is it for us.
3's it?
Now, you can
You
write
say
it.
that. I'm going to write this on this
The
board.
date and time.
You can write it on this board. I let everyone write on my board.
You do? Okay, yeah. I think, 3 kind of feels like a sweet spot for me. Like I said, I know every name in my system. I know every client that walks through the door. Like, that feels good to me. Like, I enjoy that. I appreciate it. I take pride in it. I think if we start going any bigger with this particular business, I'll feel a lot more disconnected, and that bothers me. Already, like, I don't get to spend as much time at our Lenexa studio now that we live in the Northland. My kids go to school in the Northland, and we've got the 2 studios in the Northland. The newest one up there, I feel like I'm not down in Lenexa as much as I used to be. And, I'll have to ask my teachers, what's her name? And I hate that.
Yeah.
Like, it bothers me. I don't like that feeling. So I'm afraid if we go any bigger with this particular business that it won't be as enjoyable for me. It'll feel it won't make me feel good about it. Like, I like knowing all of our clients. I think that's important. Now, with that being said, I'm sure there's more businesses for us in the future. I mean, my husband would love to have his own business. He, still works for the man, and he often says how jealous he is of us.
But it's pretty cool, though, that he bet everything on you right behind you. And I think that's like a huge thing, too, as a partnership.
Absolutely.
That, like, Madison was the first one. I was like, I think I want to open a marketing company. She's like, yeah, do it. Yeah, let's
do
go.
it.
Like,
yeah. What do you need from me?
I was like,
yeah.
wasn't even a second question. I was like, I was hoping for some feedback, like maybe pros and cons. Like,
No, let's
she was
do it.
like, let's roll. I was like,
what do you need?
all right. And I think that's very cool because I did the same thing for her when she was
when
working
she
at
was
a company.
starting her real estate company.
Well, she was working at Kendra Scott.
Oh, that's right.
I was like, go do something else.
Yeah.
I was like, I got us.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do, go do it. I go, just sell something.
Yeah.
I go, sell something that you get direct. I was like, you're great at it. People love you.
Yeah.
Do something like that. And it was like, it just all happened.
Oh,
and
yeah. It's so important. If your partner is not on board with this, friends, we got to find a new partner because that's never going to work. If your partner is not on board with, your small business and the time that it takes to start a small business and the sacrifices you have to make, it ain't going to work. Either your relationship's going to die or your business is going to die. Like it's all encompassing.
Something's gotta give.
Totally. And Brad's been there from day one. I mean, he does our books still to this day. He's my accountant, and that's not even his job in real life. So he, does the books every month. Anytime something's broken at the studio, he's there fixing it. Like, he's my handyman. He's all the things. And that allows me to, go out and be the face of the business and run the business day to day. So there's another tip for you. Find a partner that's on board, because it's really important.
Find someone good with numbers.
Yeah, yesterday, Mass, I had an argument on the
helps.
phone because I'm not a CPA. I was like, she calls, she's like, how do I do this, this, and this? How do you feel this? I'm like, oh. I'm like, we pay a CPA, call him. She's like, I thought you would know this. I'm like, no, I paid him to do this for me. I was like, so we had that whole argument yesterday. But I think the partnership is a huge, huge, huge piece in that on going into entrepreneurship, business owning.
Bonus if he will fill out the LLC paperwork and the insurance audits. Just saying.
Yeah.
Bonus.
Last thing I hit on is, this is normally final question, is if you could go back to your 20-year-old self.
Which is only a few years, because you're 28.
you're 20.
I'm only 28, so that's
if you
8 years ago.
Yeah, if you go back 8 years,
Okay.
What would you tell your 20-year-old self?
We don't have do-overs, Dane. I would say stop worrying about what you think everybody thinks you should do, and find something that really fires you up inside, and go do it and make a living out of it. Because not everybody has this entrepreneurial spirit. And honest to God, I don't think I knew I had it at the age of 20, which is kind of shocking because my parents had businesses growing up, but they never, ever talked about it at home. It wasn't, that's a whole different podcast. But not everybody has the bug. But if you think that you even sort of have the bug, start figuring out, what excites you, what, inspires you or motivates you, or, and figure out how to make money from it. Because then you'll never, this is so cliche, then you'll never work a day in your life, honest to God. But, I wish at 20, I wish I cared less about what I thought people thought I should do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think a lot of people just fall into this rut that I think college is doing it to people right now.
I literally had no business going to college. I have a psychology and criminal justice degree.
I'm not going over what I have a degree in. It's
yours
pointless.
is art history or something, isn't it?
Yeah,
Geology?
it's art history. I think
It's definitely not.
art history.
Geology.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
I mean, you could.
I pay $141 a month for a little piece of paper next to my desk, and the day it gets paid off, it's getting taken down.
Once a bear cat, always a bear cat.
Yeah, but it's it's one of those things. Our dad wouldn't let us go to school for business.
Yeah.
Because he goes, every business runs differently. So he goes, and we were required to go to college, so we both start off pre-med.
Yeah, but why can't it be you have to go to college or you have to get a job? I get
Right.
you got to get out of the house, you got to go do something, but it's not going to be college for everybody. And we're really vocal with our kids about that. Is that I don't care if it's college, I don't care if it's tech school, I don't care if you start a business. Go do something that excites you.
Yeah.
Because at 18 or 19, 20 years old, I don't know that anybody really knows what they want to do for the rest of their life. That's not even a fair question.
No.
I literally picked a college because my best friend was going there. I had never even toured the college. I was literally just going to college to check off the box that my parents told me I had to do.
Yeah.
I went to Northwest because they came during lunch period. So I was like,
It was the easiest
cool.
one.
And they're like, you're approved. And they're like,
You
and
can
you
come.
get this. And they're like, and you get this grant. I'm like,
and you get a laptop.
Yeah.
and they're like,
Yeah.
and it's only $2,000 a semester.
I was going to say, and
I
it's
was like,
the cheapest school ever.
I was like, bet.
Yeah. They come in and I remember coming home from lunch. I was like, Dad, I'm going to college. But it was something that we were told we had to do.
Yeah.
And it's just, but the funny thing is you can go get all the college debt you want in the world.
Yeah.
Trying to get a business loan,
Oh, forget about it.
it is
Yeah.
the biggest joke of anything I've ever seen.
It really is.
When I started this,
And no wonder no one wants to start a business because they're scared to death of the paperwork that the bank makes
Yeah.
you fill out.
when I started this, I went in, I was like, well, I'll just have a business line of credit.
Nope.
That'd be nice. I go in and they're like, well, what's your income? I was like, I don't have a job.
That's
I'm
literally
starting a
why I'm
business."
starting a business.
And they're like, well, then we can't approve you for anything.
If anybody has trouble sleeping at night, download the SBA application and 82 pages later, you'll be asleep. I mean, for sure. But why? Like you said, anybody can go to college.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
And be in thousands and thousands of dollars
Totally.
in debt. But
Totally.
oh,
They're
that's
like,
fine.
what? You want to be on it by yourself? Perfect. You want to put your parents on it? Perfect.
Yeah.
Who else you got? Let's add them to
Right,
it. Let's
right.
put them in
Yeah.
debt.
Yep.
but very much enjoyed you being on.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I think we hit a lot of great topics, and
Totally agree.
I think you had a bunch of amazing insights on everything.
Well, I appreciate that.
And you run 3 very successful locations. And once again, thank you for coming on.
Yeah. Anytime.
Any final thoughts?
Come try a Pure Barre class.
Go hit Pure Barre.
First class is free.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, guys, I will say that one summer we had some Chiefs players come and work out for the summer with us. So I feel like if Chiefs players, like linebackers, can come work out with us,
I feel like physically I'm very much similar in shape. That's what I was.
To a
well,
linebacker.
I mean,
That's what I was just thinking.
one of them was probably 350, and I'm like, will you not pull the bars out of the wall?
Yeah, please don't mess that up.
Don't put your full weight on it, but lean against it.
But, you know. But anyway, guys.
Go check out
come
Pure
to-
Barre.
Yeah.
We will link everything below
Okay.
for all your locations, everything like that, so more people can slide in your DMs. But I'm going to end that with a key Ricky.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.